Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the uncommon normal Psychic-type Pokemon Girafarig, the Long Neck Pokémon. While they might look incredibly quirky and odd to most, Girafarig are fascinating creatures that can definitely put their odd combination of moves to good use against those that dare to threaten them. Girafarig have bodies that very much resemble the giraffes they are related to, with 4 long legs that end in grey, 2-toed hooves, and a long neck that serves as the key characteristic that garners their species title. They have a pattern of yellow and brown colors on the body, with their front being yellow with brown spots along their back and neck, and their other half having the reverse palette, with a mane of pink triangular fringes along their back and triangular ears on their head. Their nose is also pink, with blackish brown eyes, a white patch of skin on their forehead, and a series of white, stalked orb-like white horns on their head, which they use to focus their psychic energy. Finally, they have a short, stubby tail with a large brown bulb at the end that has a pair of functional yellow and brown eyes, and a working mouth that has sharp teeth perfect for biting at others with little remorse. Girafarig are a unique case among Pokemon in that their signature powers do not seem to be something of ancient origin, instead being the result of fairly recent genetic mutations that have resulted in a number of alterations to their form. For one thing, it is strongly believed that these creatures were originally just plain normal-type Pokemon with fairly limited combat abilities, but due to some unknown change to their environment or the local biota, they were forced to develop a way to defend themselves from a distance and especially from behind, where there is an obvious blind spot in their vision. The former issue is fixed by an alteration to their brain structure and the development of a series of protuberances on their head that allow them to concentrate and release psychic energy as a weapon, hence why they are counted as secondary psychic types and are one of only a few species of Pokemon to actually have this odd type combination. The latter issue is resolved through the creation of a special tail appendage that allows these beasts to defend themselves from the rear in close quarters, with a biting tail that can react to nearby stimuli and lash out viciously with attacks like Crunch, and make itself a nuisance to approach to get at the one place in their vision where these creatures have no other form of defense against attack. The tail actually has its own primitive brain, and it can grant these creatures an added boost to their mental profile and keep them moving and active more often than not, allowing these Pokemon to possess the inner focus and earlier bird abilities as base abilities, while those that are able to use their herbivorous diets to boost their energy can also have access to Sap Sipper as a hidden ability. As far as their stats are concerned, Girafarig are pretty basic creatures that don't have a lot of power supporting them for the most part, and thus are unable to make much use of their powers in battle, leaving them below average as a whole for most of their stats. The only base stat of theirs that does stand out are their base special attack and speed stats, which are above average for a fully evolved normal type Pokemon, and can thus give them at least a minor leg up against the competition to make the most of what power they do have. What makes the tail of Girafarig interesting, as stated before, is the fact that it does have a small, primitive brain of its own inside of it that has the capacity to react to nearby motion and smell, and oftentimes will instinctually lash out against anything that gets too close to the main body for its liking. This can make them a hazard to be near, as while Girafarig do get early access to a nasty stomp attack to deal with anything that tries to get near their legs, their tail is a much more useful deterrent that allows them to fight in 2 directions at once, as its flat teeth are otherwise able to bite on like a vice grip and even rip off chunks of anything that gets too close to them, requiring even their handlers and trainers to keep an eye on how close they are to these creatures. Interestingly though, while the brain might seem to be of limited use, it is actually psychically linked to the main brain of these creatures and, more importantly, is actually where most of their extrasensory organs are located, making it the primary source of their psychic power before it is externally concentrated between their horn-like head protrusions. This can be seen quite readily whenever these beasts are sleeping, as the tail brain never needs to sleep and can thus keep watch over their surroundings for the sake of protection 24 hours a day, and when they stop to feed on grasses and tree shoots, while the tail has no connection to their digestive system, it will instinctually make chewing and swallowing motions while Girafarig are eating, making sometimes for a comical sight. Even so, these creatures are not to be ignored, as they can naturally gain access to some fairly powerful attacks and can hold their own in minor battles, making them a bit tougher to approach than one might initially imagine. Though they certainly might not be among the most conventional Psychic-type Pokemon out there, Girafarig are interesting beasts that can definitely pull a trick or two against those that dare to get too close to them. You might have to find out the hard way how far away is safe to be near them, but as long as they trust you and don't make too much of a fuss, these small giraffe relatives can make themselves into a fairly decent menace on the battlefield. Of course, if you're small enough to try and ride one, make sure you know what you're doing before so. They might not mind transporting others, but unless you put a guard on the tail, you may find the ride to be more than a bit painful for your posterior when their tail starts nipping at it in confusion and mindless aggression. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.